Welcome into this week's edition of Crown Corner, and it's a happy one for this week, and we're very happy to be talking about a victory, a 1-0 triumph over NYCFC to keep the playoff hopes alive for Charlotte FC. And Jess, I think we saw a lot of encouraging things and probably the best 90 minutes we'd seen from Charlotte FC, absent a couple of blips on the radar. Best we've seen in a long time, though.
Yeah, I think it was a different performance to any that we've seen this season in terms of going down to 10 players, facing that adversity, having to battle out and keep a clean sheet at home. It was a really important victory, obviously sweeping the reigning champions for the first time since 1998, like we said. So it was a really big statement victory, our first sweep of a side. And I think that that's always a special occasion where you're able to get the upper hand of a team 2 times during a season, and for it to be against NYCFC was a special occasion. Was it a perfect performance? No, but you don't expect perfect performances at the end of the day. But what you want to see is the characteristics that our side demonstrated. You want to see that determination. You want to see that just grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck. And did we make it a little bit more hard for ourselves than perhaps we would have liked to with that red card? Of course. But I think that it was a very good match, and it was nice to see a change in formation as well that I think suited a lot of the personnel on the pitch.
I'm really looking forward to kind of dissecting what this might mean for Charlotte FC going forward, because with 4 games remaining, I do obviously believe that while playoffs are still mathematically alive, I don't think
It
that
would be
should be the
nice.
teams. What's that?
I said it would be nice, but I don't think that realistically we're going to have a lot of favors. We're going to have to be a very good friend and receive a lot of favors from across the league.
And more of the thing that I really want to see, Jess, is that I want to see this group come together and just put some results together. Like Christian Latanzio going into this final 5 matches called this a mini season, and I think if for whatever reason Charlotte FC is able to galvanize and come together and play well, then that's the kind of thing that can have momentum going into the offseason and give Zoran Krneta a big viewpoint as to what can actually be done to make this team a side that comes into 2023 hitting the ground running.
Yeah, I think that you have to listen. No season's ever dead, and I think with MLS, sometimes people say, "Well, if you can't make playoffs, there's no relegation, so it's a write-off." No, that's not the case. It's very important for many reasons that Charlotte FC is able to put in performance week in, week out. Number one, for pride. Let's be honest here. We've sat as high as 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th in the table, and I think that's very important that we're able to not finish as low as at times it has looked like we might. It's about finishing ahead of Atlanta. It's about finishing ahead of Chicago. We're going to have the opportunity to push above them, obviously, this weekend more consistently. And I think that, like you say, Will, it's vital. These people are playing for the fans, first and foremost. We know that this team has had an amazing connection with the fans, and they want to make sure that the last 4 games are results that those fan base deserve. But they're also playing for their futures in terms of playing time, in terms of more lucrative contracts potentially, and in terms of making sure that they're able to convince Zoran Krneta that their position isn't a position that needs strengthening. And I think that it's very important to build momentum. It's very important to leave a legacy. And whereas there are seasons, maybe 5-6 years into a club's history, that can kind of be forgotten, you're never going to forget that first year. So I think it's really important that this side does themselves a credit and plays as well as we know they can at times to make sure they finish high enough up the table to at least reflect some of the work rate. And I think that will be something that they're able to hold their heads up proudly about.
Now, one of the other things, too, that I really want to see in the latter part of this season is guys who are in contract years actually come through and maybe make a statement about their worth to the club. And I think we saw that in spades on Sunday, or on Saturday rather, when we saw Daniel Rios really make good on all that great dirty work that he's done in games and get his second goal of the season. There was a lot of criticism with Rios coming in for Swiderski. I know that they mentioned, did Christian Latanzio after the contest that preceded NYCFC, that maybe he was battling a little bit of fatigue, and that, the work rate that he had been going through had taken a toll on him. And maybe that's part of the reason why we even saw him as an attacking midfielder, because it did feel like that for a little bit for Carroll, it was very much something that was wearing on him. But the fact that he called not only Daniel Rios one of the most prolific goal scorers on the team, but the fact that he gained a lot of trust from Christian Lattanzi with the way that he moved in training, I think gives a real point and inspiration for a lot of these guys going forward.
Yeah, firstly, I think the criticism of Rios wasn't fair in terms of, yes, it's the wrong choice. Daniel Rios isn't a lone centre forward. He needed partnerships. We've seen him have success with the 4-4-2. We've seen him have partnerships when he has Karol Swiderski in and behind him and around him. I think he was never going to thrive necessarily in that position, but we've been able to see the most of Daniel Rios, and we got to see all of the good things that Daniel Rios is capable of in that game last weekend. We were able to see his build-up play. We were able to see how he's able to hold up the ball. We're able to see his commitment into the box, his positional awareness, and it was a great header as well. We mentioned that he did everything right for that header in terms of positioning, in terms of timing of his run, in terms of being in the right place. And I think Daniel Rios is a player that has had some really bright moments in the club, and then he's had some very quiet moments in the club. But he thrives in a system where he has support in and around him, where he's able to hold up the ball, where he's able to distribute it around him and be that target player that can hold the ball up and bring others in. And like you say, he's a bit of an unsung hero because he does a lot of that dirty work. But it was nice for him to get that standing ovation on Saturday and get the accolades.
And that is a little bit from Jess as we get through a little bit of technical glitch back there on my end. I wasn't able to really hear the end of what Jess had to say, but let's get in a conversation with Adam Armour as we give you an opportunity to hear from somebody who's on the mend for Charlotte FC and somebody who can really be a big part of what this future of this club could be.
Welcome in to the training ground, joined today by the scorer of Charlotte FC's first ever goal, Adam Armour. Adam, obviously, we know it's been a heartbreaking start to the season after that amazing goal, but I've seen a lot of progress going on in your social media. Can you give everyone an update on how you're doing, what big margins and jumps you're taking in terms of your return to the field?
Yeah, it's been great, to be honest. No complaints. I've been staying motivated by seeing the progress week to week that I've been making. So I'm just now starting sprinting, and I'm gonna be back on the field next week with the team. Sadly, not training, but I will be running, and I'll be around the team a little bit more. So I'm excited for that.
How has it been during the week to not be involved on the pitch, having to watch others go out into the training ground while you have to stay in the physio room doing all that work? How difficult can that be for your just mindset?
It definitely is tough. Sometimes it's hard to feel like part of the team when you're not experiencing the training sessions and everything that goes in to the matches. Luckily, we have a lot of good guys on the team that I'll see before training, after training. I'll still talk to a lot. And even when we go home, I'll still spend time with. So I've definitely been lucky with that. But it's tough. Trying not to get too used to being away from the team, but it's something that I've had to deal with.
And we've seen on game days, you've done other activities, you've done the photography, that kind of thing. But what does an average game day look for you? Do you have to watch from the booth? Where are you watching the game from? Those kind of things.
Yeah, so match days for me, they have me get here like maybe 4 hours before the game starts to get my rehab in, and then they have us up in a suite with the non-roster players. So I'm up there watching every game.
And how difficult is it watching when you just want to be on the pitch?
Oh, it sucks. It's terrible. I mean, like I love supporting the team. I love supporting the guys, but just seeing the fans and seeing the atmosphere, like not being able to be out there, it really is tough.
Okay, enough of the negative. I think we've done enough of that. We feel sorry for you. It's a tough time for Adam Armour, but let's look back on the amazing things that have happened. The first goal. How many times have you played it back to watch you score in the first goal in Charlotte FC history?
Probably too many. But no, it's something that still makes me smile to this day. Watching the video back and hearing the commentary and everything, it's something that still makes me happy to this day.
And how important do you think it is that you had a moment like that before your season-ending injury so that you have something to look back on, something that's really kind of a motivating factor?
That's something I actually think about a lot, and I think it's huge for me, for my career and maybe for my own confidence, to know that before I did get hurt and my season was done, I had something to show for the couple games that I did get to play. So I also like that the fans can look at that and maybe think that there are definitely more of those to come when I am back. So I think it was massive for me.
There are definitely more of those to come, I'm sure about it. The current team, obviously, we're just coming off an amazing 1-0 victory. You were watching. How proud of you were you for the guys, particularly as they faced that adversity, going down to 10 men for the majority of the second half?
I'm really proud of them, especially because of how things have been going in the last couple of weeks. I'm glad that guys aren't getting in their heads and being like, okay, maybe we're not good enough. Guys have turned it around, and you saw that fight in that last match where guys are fighting for each other. Guys are working hard. Even with 10 men, we're holding our own against a really good MLS side. So I was really proud of the boys for that.
And you can speak from experience, I'm sure, of going down to 10 players. What sort of a difference does that make? Obviously, there's a numerical advantage, but in terms of your mentality, in terms of, feeling like you can't catch a break, how difficult is that as a player?
It's the worst. It's kind of like everyone knows that they have to work that much harder for the rest of the game. And when you're already exhausted, when you're already holding on to a 1-goal lead, having to push that little extra bit is very difficult. So you kind of have to find that inside of yourself to be able to make that happen and grind out the win. And I feel like that's exactly what we did.
As you get ready, obviously, to re-enter the pitch, people have asked me, what are your goals as an individual coming up? Obviously, first and foremost, it's to get fit and be able to get back and play. But what does Adam Armour want to get out of the next season of play?
Well, like what everyone says, I feel like I want to be able to help the team as much as possible. But
you can think selfishly, personal.
Personally, definitely score some goals. I'm looking forward to that. I think Christian, from what I've talked to him about, sees me as more of a forward than a defender. So that might be a possibility. And then I feel like I want next year to be the year where I establish myself in this league as one of the top players. Like, I've always known what I've been capable of, and I've always been wanting to show it to everybody else and let them know. So I feel like next year is the year for that.
And how do you feel about that, going from a defender and now being seen as having forward qualities? Do you enjoy the idea of being a versatile player? Does it make you a little anxious about someone seeing different attributes?
I actually like it because, every coach sees a little something different. I used to be a winger. I used to be a number 10 growing up in the academy, and then I moved to a left back. To be honest, I've never played a position that I didn't enjoy. So whether it's left back, whether it's on the wing, whether it's in the midfield, like even this season before my injury, I was playing in the midfield a little bit, and like wherever I've been, I've enjoyed it, and I feel like I can help the team.
When you talk about helping the team, other people have asked, what do you think the team as a whole has learned from this inaugural season? Obviously, still games to play, still a push to make, but in terms of improvements year over year, where do you think areas that this side can really grow from that 1 year of experience they have under their belt in MLS now?
I feel like we know that we have the quality to be a top team. I feel like the learning curve is huge because, we have a lot of guys that have never played in this league. It's a really long season. And I feel like knowing that going into next season, guys are going to be ready. Guys are going to know what to expect. And I feel like it's going to be a massive help for us going into next year.
And how much do you think it helps that the players now know each other? Obviously, we talked a lot about you being a whole brand new bunch of guys. People barely knew each other. How has the chemistry off the pitch helped on the pitch?
It definitely helps a lot. And you could see as the year goes on how close guys are getting and how guys are willing to work hard for each other and fight for each other. And we're seeing stuff now that we might not have seen in preseason. We're seeing stuff now that makes it feel like more of a cohesive team than just individuals trying to prove their worth. I feel like that's big for any team to succeed.
And who have you found yourself gravitate towards? Who are your group of guys?
Typically Mackenzie, Jalen, Andre, Anton Walks, and now since Nathan's been here, I've been spending a little time with him. So
Nathan and I went to the same school together. We didn't know each other, but we went to the same school in England.
Wow. Okay, there you go.
Look at that. Friendship. Mm-hmm. Who has the best clothes out of those guys? I know all of you are very much into fashion, but who do you think dresses the best?
I'll say out of those guys, I'll put Andre up there, and I'll put Anton Walks up there. I like their styles a lot.
You appreciate the way that they show up to game day.
For
How
sure.
important is it to show up looking nice? Do you think that helps you perform? If you walk in feeling good, does it help you play well?
It does. It definitely does. I think if you look good, you feel good. And then if you feel good, you play good. So I'm a strong believer of that.
Okay, music. I've seen a little bit of beef going on your Instagram music claims.
Yeah.
Do you and Jalen that have some disagreements about quality music?
Jalen and I are actually pretty similar with some stuff. And then he likes to play his country music for whatever reason, and that's where we have our disagreements. But I personally feel like I have the best music taste, of course, but I've been told my music taste is pretty one-dimensional. So
from who? Who told you that, Jalen?
Everyone. Andre, Chris Hagar, just everybody.
Whose playlist would you not want to listen to before a match?
Jordi Alcivar.
What's wrong with the Latin flavor?
I mean, it's cool, but like he plays that like little dance music, and I'm like, this is not the vibe I'm trying to get in right now.
I feel you. You're not trying to move your hips before the game. You just want to get a little angry, a little mean. Exactly. Okay, something we have to talk about. We really have to, because I watched the video, and there was a video that you made with Harris Teeter, Adamama, and you claimed you hadn't been shopping since March. You do realize it's September, right?
Yeah.
How have you not grocery shopped since March?
See, that's a good question.
We're waiting.
I somehow always find a way to get food in my system. So I eat breakfast and lunch at the stadium. Maybe sometimes I'll be cooked for, or I'll go out and get some food from a nice restaurant or something. So I've somehow avoided the grocery store for a strong period of time.
Okay, and you look back at the pasta dish that you made. Are you proud? Are you proud of yourself?
Very proud.
Were there some Italians that may have been offended by your shopping?
Yes, for sure.
If you could go back, would you have cooked something different?
No, never. If they tasted it, they would have changed their mind. But I know the techniques were a little abnormal.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you said Jalen Lindsey was the best cook. Do you still stand by that?
I do. He's amazing.
All right, one more from me and then we'll be done. Who is going to be the game changer for Charlotte FC for the rest of the season? Putting a little pressure on your teammates.
That's a great question. I'll say Christian Kalina, and I'll say our center back partnership, Adil and Anton Walks. I think those three in the back are going to be the ones holding it down for us and are going to, keep us out of trouble.
And just one quick thing, because I think that's an amazing answer. How impressed have you been with the way that they've been able to adjust to a different center back pairing? That's not easy, is it?
Yeah, it's not at all. And especially Adil coming in, he doesn't speak too much English. He's new to the league, but he's been playing very well. He's been looking good. I've been hearing he's been doing well in training as well. And him and Anton are getting along very well. So that's all you can ask for from a new young player coming in.
Absolutely. Well, Adamama, we're excited to have you back on the pitch. It was a pleasure as always, but stay out the kitchen.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I will do that.
That's a little bit from the guy that I call Double A and the man who scored the first goal in Charlotte FC's history. And while I hope he's made and learned for more than that, I really hope that he's able to have some of those similar seminal moments. It might even have to be a bit of a restart year for him. He might have to start some of the year in the MLS Next Pro team just because I think coming back from that knee injury will be something that I think will take a graduated process from him.
Yeah, it's hard to recover from such a serious injury as the one that he's had. We'll see how he's able to develop in his performance. But I think if there's one thing that Adam Armour has on his side, it's his work rate, it's his determination, and his mindset. He's shown a lot of that to overcome this, and he stays positive at all times. And he's a delight to get to talk to. And I think his connection with the fans and his connection with this club is huge. And like you say, Will, he'll always have that first goal to his name. But more importantly, he wants to continue to build a legacy. He doesn't want it to just be the guy that scored the goal.
Very much so. And Chicago Fire is the next contest. And if there's one memory that I look at from that contest, I see a team that I don't think we're necessarily head and shoulders behind when it comes to ability. We know that Kasper Shabilko is somebody who dominated that contest. I do believe that we were still trying to get our sea legs with the back four, the way that it looked in that contest. I do feel like as a result, though, Charlotte FC has learned a lot since then that they can take into this contest.
They have indeed. And Chicago's a team that's below them in the table. They're a team that had really struggled before picking up a win at last recently. So they've got a lot of difficulties, and their fans are feeling very frustrated with the way that Chicago has played lately. So I think that it'll be an interesting environment for our side to go into. And I think that we've grown a lot. We've come a long way in the last game. We've made that progress. We know we've had our struggles away from home, and we know we've had our struggles in previous matches. But I think this is a side now that really knows how important these 4 games are for their fans. They're going to want to go on the road, and they're going to want to do a really good job against Chicago Fire. We know Chicago is very good defensively. They've had a lot of issues offensively, and hopefully that's going to be good for our defense that's growing in confidence with that clean sheet to their name. And hopefully we'll be able to finish our opportunities going forwards.
Haven't heard from the disciplinary committee yet about whether or not Christian Fuchs' suspension will go longer than this upcoming contest, but we know that sometimes violent conduct suspensions could possibly be as long as 3 games, which would mean that he'd be gone for the rest of the season. But in terms of him not necessarily playing this weekend, I'm sure we're probably going to see Joseph Mora in at left back, and I'm wondering if you felt that Nathan Bird maybe earned himself a start with the way that he played in the second half against NYCFC this past weekend.
Yeah, it's interesting, really, because we saw that Joseph Mora wasn't even chosen to come in for that in the left back position. They brought Byrne in and they switched Awful over to the other side. And I thought that was actually a really nice back line. We know that Byrne is a communicator back there. We know he's a player that holds people accountable and that he's a workhorse. We saw a lot more of him defensively. We weren't able to see what he offers on the opposite end of the pitch because obviously he only came in when we were down to those 10 players. But I think that you sign players to play them, right? You sign players because you think they're going to improve you. So I'm hoping for that sake we get to see Nathan Byrne. I'm also hoping that perhaps we get another opportunity to see Nuno Santos. We know it was a tough debut for him. We didn't see him at all in the match. So hopefully he'll get an opportunity to show what he can do.
Yeah, definitely helping for some redemption there for Nuno, definitely. And we'll be on the air coming up on Saturday with Chicago Fire and Charlotte FC. 8 p.m. the first kick. Our coverage begins on the Charlotte FC radio network at 7:30. We're hoping to get 3 points and, like Jess said, some favors from our friends. Hope you join us then, and thank you so much for tuning in, as always, to Crown Corner. We'll talk to you on the broadcast Saturday on the Charlotte FC radio network.